Okay, this will be part one of a series of videos where I'm basically retracing my footsteps. Um, I created a movie camera project that I liked a lot, and I'm going to basically, I wish I would have documented the entire process because it was very fun and I learned a lot, and I would just like to document the experience. And so I'm going to retrace my footsteps, and you can follow along if you're interested in that. So I'm kind of new to Tinkercad, and I just now feel like I've gotten a grasp on it, and I've been able to do some pretty neat things. So I'm going to first thing I did was I looked for a movie camera icon, and then I put it on images, and I'm looking for. I think I might not actually go with the same icon that I found before. I might actually go with one. I just was kind of poking around and I saw one that looked pretty cool. So if things go right, I might end up with a better one than what I have now. So I think I went with something like that or similar. Very, very cartoonish, nothing too fancy. But this right here looks pretty cool. I'm going to right click and say open an image in new tab so we can see it a little closer. Yeah, I really like the way that looks, and it could be really neat to make that. Yeah, I like the intricate. Before I was actually shying away from this because it was so intricate, but I'm going to actually go for I'm going to go for it this time and see what happens. So, Tinkercad, let's see, Canvas. No, I don't want that. I'm going to make a Tinkercad folder. Tinkercad and movie camera project. I'll save it in there, and this will just be the icon, camera icon. Right, so this is a JPEG, and I'm going to need to convert it. So I'm going to go JPG to SVG converter online, and there's tons of them. Really doesn't matter which one we use, but the important thing is that I downloaded this to my computer so that I can then upload it to here. So I'll choose file, and where did it go? Tinkercad. No, that's not it. Documents, pool, Tinkercad, movie camera project. There we go. All right, so convert. And actually, I'm not gonna like the fact that there's this down at the bottom camera icon, but whatever. We'll just work with it. So I'm gonna download, and we'll put it in the exact same place. And now that it's downloaded as an SVG, I can upload it to Tinkercad. Whoops, import. Camera icon, and it's probably really way too big. So I'm going to say 25% of the original size. And it's uploading. Okay, there we go. So let me click on it, and we'll hold shift and resize. Actually, hold on. I'm going to control Z that, and I'll hold alt shift while I shrink it so it shrinks down to the middle. Oh, there we go. That's what I saw that I didn't like, was that stripe at the bottom. And the unfortunate thing is it's going to be there through this whole process. But I don't know. Maybe I should process it a little bit more. I can crop that out if I do. Yeah, I think I will. Not sure what programs I've got on here. Wonder if the snipping tool would do it. Yeah, actually, I could open the camera icon. I could open this, and then I could try the snipping tool. And yeah, let's try that. I'll just do this, and then I'll save that. And Documents, Tinkercad, movie camera. Okay. Camera only. Okay. Jump around so much, but I'm going to do that. Convert more files. Choose files. Camera only. Convert. Forget about rating it. And is it going? Not sure if it. Oh, choose output format. Okay, I want SVG. Where are we going? SVG. Convert. Converting. Download. I'll just replace the other one. And then we'll upload without that extra stuff. So delete, import, choose file, camera icon. Probably still needs to be smaller. I'll try 50%. Okay. Now I'll hold Alt Shift to shrink it a bit. And let's start taking a look. Really, I think I'll probably just use this as a guide and eventually delete this stuff. So, yeah. So let's see. Maybe what I should do is click on this and I'll drop it down so it's underneath the work plane. And then I'll use that, like I said, as a guide to build this thing. So hit F, zoom in. Let's move this out of the way. I'll shift drag and try to get a better view on this. Monitor is not very big. So let's see, control minus. Yeah. All right, so let me get a good look at where we're at with this. I'll arrow key left. And yeah, let's see. I don't know if I am actually that excited about building it from scratch. Let's go ahead and use this entire contraption, but what we'll do is kind of get the pieces separated here. So over and over, this technique keeps being found so useful, is to duplicate something and then modify, duplicate and take away stuff. Like if you want to take a bite out of something, you do this. Like I want to get rid of these legs. I actually want the legs to be separate from the camera. So this is how you do it. And let me zoom in and make sure that I've got that position just right. Let's see. Zooming in, right click, drag. Yeah, so that's what I was hoping for, is that I had that positioned just right. And now if we combine these two, group them, it'll take a bite out of that and we've got just the camera. So likewise over here, I'm going to get the stand separated. Now let me zoom in over here. If I hit F, it should reposition me. And then I'll zoom in and I'll right click, drag the mouse, and I'm just trying to see if this looks like that's just about right. So now we'll do the same thing. I'll group this, and now I've got the stand. So we got the camera, we got the stand, and really everything's still there. If we ungroup stuff, the the legs will come back on this one and the camera will come back on that one. But now we've got them where we can work with them separately. I'm going to just set this aside for now because the camera is going to be my main focus. And so let me hit F to zoom in. And I think I want to create my own lens here and make it more three-dimensional. So I'm going to hide this. I'm going to chop it off basically. Same technique. And that'll be our first customization, is I want to make this lens. So let me drag this onto the screen. Let me hit F. Let me get that out of the way so we can see more. And all right, so I'm going to hold shift while I rotate this. And just to make sure it's flat on the work plane, I'm going to hit D. And then I'm going to drag this out a bit. Maybe not too much, but yeah, that'll be good. And then now let's see, how big should this lens be? That might be a little large. So I'm going to hold Alt Shift and shrink it. Let's see if that's better. That's still pretty massive lens. Still pretty impressive. All right. So in fact, you know what? I'm going to stand this thing back up, and you'll notice it's now sunk below the work plane. So I'm going to hit D for it to just jump up. And now let's go Control D. We'll duplicate this thing. And then I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to hold Shift while I pull down. Just a touch. And now if we select it and turn it all into holes, you can see what that did. We've got a cylinder inside the cylinder. And now let me see. I want to click on the outside and hide it while I altered this just a little more. I'm going to hold Shift again and make it just one more click shorter. So now I'm going to unhide to bring back. Yeah, that's good. And then let me see. I want to pull this. I wonder if this is the inside. Oh, good, it is. So I'm going to pull that up and let's see. I'm trying to. I don't think I want to hollow out the whole thing, but I do want to. Let's see. All right. While it's selected, let me hold Control arrow up, and we'll stop about there. All right. So now, if I turn this back into a solid, and then we group these, that will do that to the end. And that's good, except for, let's see, I want to do another move before I do that. So while this is still a solid, I'm going to hit Control D, and then I'm going to make it a bit bigger. I'm going to hold Shift and Shift and Alt so it expands from the outside. Okay, so I just made a copy. I've got kind of a couple things going on here. And while I've got that selected, I'm going to make it, whoops, I don't want the whole thing. I just want the outer. Okay, what did I do wrong? So let me shrink it back. And now, do we have two copies? Yes, we do. All right, so I'm going to make sure I only have one selected. Looks like if I drag out, it's got one, and only one of them is moving. So that should be fine. I'm going to hit Alt Shift. I don't know why it didn't work a moment ago, but okay. All right, so maybe it was just way huge. Okay, there we go. So what I'm trying to do is create a ring, and then I'm going to pull up on that so that it can be, like one of those rings that have the ridges on it where you can adjust. And in fact, I'm going to hit D so it drops back down on the ground here. And I don't know if it needs to be quite that big. Let me zoom in. F will bring us closer. And I'm going to hit Alt Shift and just shrink it probably one more notch. It doesn't need to be quite that big. That's more like it. All right, so now for this next move, I'm going to bring out this, and I will, let me see, hit F so I can see the thing. I want to stand it up. So basically, I want to do this rotation. And I'm going to park it right over here. And let me hit D to make sure it's not sunken, too far into the. So we just want to position it so it's just entering the cylinder. And let me see. Problem is, I've got to make sure these things are kind of aligned. And yeah, if I do that, then these things move. Let me go ahead and group these two now that I've got that other one created. So I'm going to group those, and then that will allow me to kind of group or grab all these. Actually, before I grab them, let me group these two so that they're locked together. And later I'll ungroup them. But for now, I just want to be able to grab all this and hit align and then center them. That's basically what I needed to do. Now, while it's right there, it doesn't have to be that tall. So let me jump back here and shrink it down. Just needs to be a little bit taller than this ring. All right, so now getting back up to where I can see where I'm at on this, I'm going to hit up arrow till it just slices into it. Let me get in there and see if it's actually doing that. Okay, looks like it's. I just need a small movement now, so I think I'm going to go to 0.25, then arrow key it over. There, that's much better. All right, so let me back away, and I want to duplicate this, Control D, and I want to flip it horizontally, and then I'm going to arrow key it, but I'm going to hold shift so it makes big jumps. Okay, now I'm going to hit F so I can get over there, and I guess if I'm lucky, it will be taking the same bite out of that side as it is on the other. I don't know if that's the case, but my gosh, come on, move. So yeah, it looks like it's just taking a little bite out of it, and that's about right. So I'm going to select, actually what I need to do is select just the green pieces, and I'm going to hit Control D to duplicate them, and then I'm going to grab the rotation, and I'm just going to turn it just enough to make the next bite in this ring, and I'm going to go Control D and just keep doing that all the way around. That's going to make our little serrated sort of grip. We want to keep going until we get all the way around, and hopefully this will work marvelously. All right, so remember this orange thing is its own object. It's all grouped together. So if I select all this and then ungroup by holding shift, ungroup the orange, I can turn all of those wedges into a whole, and I might as well go ahead and group all that too. So now they're going to become one unit. Might take a moment for the computer to render that. Okay, so now if I select all this and group this, it's going to take little bites out of that. So let's zoom in and see if our handiwork. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so I'm gonna ungroup this because I want to get down to the ring itself. Gosh, now I'm because of this whole mess. If I ungroup, I'm trying to get. I wonder if it'll let me. Yeah, let me see. Can I? I'm gonna select this. If this is ungrouped, then it should move up on its own. Nope, the whole thing's trying to go. So I'm gonna ungroup again and ungroup again. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm having to lose all this stuff. So, well, let's see. I'll group them back together, and then I think I'll do the old back away slowly trick. Okay, so what I want to do is select this object, and hit copy. Now I'll undo or ungroup and ungroup. Let me see, ungroup again. And just ungroup and ungroup. And I want to get to the point where I'm back at, maybe it's there now. Let's try getting rid of all these. Yeah, I should have gone about it a little different way. I should have got the cylinder positioned before I did all this. But no problem here. We'll just, now I can move this up to where I wanted it to go. Right there. And then I'm going to, remember I hit Control C on that serrated wedge circle thing. I'm going to hit Control Shift V. I would think that would paste it in exactly the same place. No. Control Shift V. Control V. Yeah, I don't like that. All right. If it must be that way, then it must be that way. So first of all, let me grab all this and group it. And now we'll select these and we'll align them. And everything will be fine. Let's make sure. Yeah, looks like it's aligned in both directions because these are both grayed out. You can tell that it's aligned because this and this are aligned. So now I'll click off, I'll grab this, and I'll do the same maneuver. I'll go Control up arrow. I'm going to hit Shift so it goes faster. Okay, now that it's close, I'll hit Control up arrow again just by itself. And there we go. Now we can take a bite out of that cylinder that's going around the longer cylinder and group them. Cha-chink. Okay, now I want to make it look like there's a lens in there. So let's bring out the shapes. And I think what we'll use will be this one. But I don't want to just drag it and drop it right here. I'm going to put the work plane temporarily right there. And we'll drop it right here. But we need to make it about the same size. So I'm going to shrink it. And let's get a good look at it from above. F. Yeah. So I'm holding Alt Shift. And that's looking pretty good. Now we'll select the whole thing and just align because it's probably not perfectly aligned. There. Now I would assume it's all very perfectly aligned. And the only thing is I want to make this much flatter because a lens doesn't need to be, that looks good. All right, so let's group that. And there's our nice lens. Yeah. And let's put the work plane back to normal. Hit F, and I think I'll rotate it. I'm going to hold Shift while I rotate it, and let me hit D so it's dropped down to the work plane. And now we'll try to position. Oh, you know what? There was one more thing I wanted to do, and we can still do it here. Yeah, let's see. I think I'll do it this way. I'm gonna rotate it back up, and I'll just hit D so it's back on the. Yeah, and I'll put the work plane back on the top here, and drag this in place. And I'm gonna have to shrink it. So Alt Shift. So it's a bit smaller, and we'll select them all and once again align them. And then let's see, I'm going to want to essentially, let's click off, and I want to place this more inside. But before we are done with that, let's make the radius. Wait, that's not it. We want We want that to be what it was, but we want the bevel. Yeah. Because that will look like kind of like a real lens, where it connects. Yeah. So that was what I was after. And now I'll select all that and group. Then we'll put the work plane back and we'll rotate this entire thing back to the way it was. Hit D. And now let's position it so it's looking like it's ready to attach. Yeah. All right. So looking like that, I would want to sync this into the work plane. But for now, I think I'm going to actually go ahead and hit D, and I think I'd rather raise this up, and then we'll try to make it look three-dimensional at some point too. So my previous project, I just made it flat and I chopped off what was underneath so I could kind of glue it to a wall. But this, I think I'm going to actually, I'm liking this so much. I want to develop it into something I can three-dimensionally print and make it look much more sophisticated. So there's what is this? The main lens. And if you've enjoyed this, I'll keep working at it and you can follow me in the next video.